Today I'm going to show you how we mix 2-to-1 syrup with our current setup, which is still not perfected yet. Hello, I'm Griffiths, welcome to Gwynny Griffith. Here we talk everything beekeeping, farming, countryside living, and we do reviews. Now I'm in, I don't know what we call this area, and it's not quite the workshop, but it's the bit outside the workshop, and this is where we do the sugar mixing batches, and we still haven't perfected this, but we're going to show you where we are with it now. We know what we need to perfect it, but we just haven't had time to get around to it. It kind of works like this, and we've been with it like that. So this is the tank. It's a 400 litre tank. If you wanted to get one of these Enduro Max, I got no affiliation to them, but the tank is pretty good. Now it's got the numbers on there, but that doesn't really help us at all because you can't see the numbers from inside the tank. If I would have gone for the lighter colour tank, you may be able to see the level, which would be much better than what I've got here. So a transparent tank is better than a black tank. But, you know, we keep things simple. What we've done, we've got our measuring stick. So the bottom green, that's 100 litres of water. And then that green there is 200 litres of water. So if we were to make a full mix, we put 200 litres of water in. And if we're just making like a half mix, we put 100 litres of water in, which is what we're doing today. So we got the stick, so we know how much water is in there. And the sugar is easy because every bag is 25 kilo. Now, we started off with this pump. Now, these are IBO pumps from Poland. They're pretty good. They're cast iron, but they're stainless steel inside, and they've got a macerator or whatever you call it inside to break everything down. Now, this, we've messed around with this loads. Before, we just had water coming out the side, quite high. Now, we're here with it now, and I thought to say, this is actually a 250 watt pump, so this is actually way too small for what you need. This pump mixes 1-to-1 perfectly, and it can do 1.5-to-1 fine. It's just a little bit small. But the idea with this one is we wanted this tap here to shoot the water back down into the bottom of the tank to churn up the bottom, and then the top pipe goes off and we can pump off that into drums. But we don't need this. So we're going to take this pipe off and we're going to blank it off there. So we're just going to have it circulating on the bottom using this, because what you find when you mix this syrup with electric pumps is there's a thermostat or something inside it where once the pump hits 40 degrees it cuts off. There's like an automatic safety feature in the pump, and it will cut off all the time. So we drilled this into the bottom of the tank, so we fill the drums off gravity power. So that's what that is. So a little bit weak for the job, but good for 2-to-1, 1-to-1, sorry. And this pump, it was cheap, about 80 quid, something like that we paid for it. And it's done us all year. It hasn't failed. So I suppose if you're making light mixes, that is fine. Where we had the problem was once we tried to get it up to 2-to-1, that pump just could not circulate it by itself, and there was, you know, so much sediment on the bottom. So basically we needed its big brother. Now this is a serious pump. Again, this is IBO, whatever, there you go, IBO, Polish company. Again, cast iron. This is a better spec than that one. I think that's called Magnum, and this is called, I don't know how you say it, it's FR something, but there's the model, right? It's CTR 1500, so it's a 1500 watt motor in this, and this is 250, so, you know, massive difference in power. This does mix 2-to-1, but we haven't put the joints on here yet. So currently this is just shooting the syrup up and churning it all up, but we're still getting sediment on the bottom, nowhere near the sediment we used to have. But basically what we're going to do is, this system here, we've got the pipe going up, and we're going to have exactly the same, but, you know, on a 2-inch diameter. We're going to be directing the water back down into the pump, and once we do that with this, so instead of the water going up, it goes down. We're going to be churning the bottom up much more than what we're doing, and that is, I think, go in to fix it. So that's where we are with the pumps. Just wanted to show you the setup, and it does mix 2 to 1. The 2 of them together works even better. Just, you know, we've got 2, so we're going to use 2. I've bought 2, so talk about money wise about this other one. The last one, I think this cost us £180, I think almost £200. So, you know, that is a much better pump. But the downside of this is this still cuts off all the time as well, and this has got some kind of safety box as well, which trips as well. But the trick is you just put it in the tank and then just leave it, and they just cut on and off all the time. So, you know, it's not going to break, it's not going to melt out or anything, but it's got to turn and mix in the background. But that's where we are. These 2 pumps are basically still a fraction of what the petrol pump would cost, and we haven't got the noise of a petrol pump mixing the syrup. So that's where we are. Still not perfected, and I'll show you at the end that the sediment we've got left, which isn't ideal because, you know, that is money. You know, we don't want to waste. It's fine if we mix in every week because you leave the sediment there and then you just add more water and you keep going. But this hopefully is the last bit. This pallet came in 2 weeks ago, and I'm not planning on buying any more sugar. So how we mix it, I'll pass the camera on to Andy and he'll explain how and what ratio mix we use. Right, annoyingly, on the new pump, I thought that was a bit of dirt, but it is actually a crack. So there's a big crack in the cast there, just where that nut is. I don't know whether that's been over tightened and it's caused a crack or what, but that is a big fault in the pump. And I've just contacted the guy I bought this off to see if that isn't covered under warranty, considering it's a month old. But I have told him we're not using it for its pumping sewerage, because this is a sewer pump. Pumping sugar syrup, I think, is easier on the pump than, you know, proper sewerage with solid mix in there. But yeah, so be careful buying anything that's not designed for the job. They can break, and basically that could be 200 quid down the drain when that does break. So we'll see if I can take this bit off and swap it under warranty, then happy days. But yeah, don't go buy one of these pumps just yet. Maybe message me in the comments to see if I was able to get this resolved or it's gonna break, and they don't stand by you if you're using it for anything else. We'll see. This one's been good. So I mean, if what we're doing is abusing the pump, this one would have broken a long time ago. That's broken straight away. But that must be a crack from the factory when it was made, I would have thought. But we'll see. Alright, so one thing I forgot to show you, we actually tape this onto the cable, because if this flips down, then the pump just shuts off. So, you know, we got to bypass the safety feature really, but we keep an eye on the pump, so you can't run any pump dry. So we keep the pump running until it gets down to a certain point, and then we turn it off. So, you know, that's how we get around that. So we run the syrup down to about this kind of height, and then we cut the electric off. So we run no chance of it running dry.
What we're doing is we're working on a kilos to litres mix. So I know that if you're Imperial, you could probably, I think, but don't quote me on this, use pounds to pints. But if I'm wrong, don't message me. So water in first in this tank right now. We've already put 100 litres in, and we'll start adding our sugar to that. So down here, we've got 25 kilo bags of sugar. So for what we've got in the tank right now, we're going to be adding all of these 9 bags. We don't want anything left on our pallet. So when you're adding, we normally add probably 4 to 5 straight away. But you find that it starts to crystallize at the bottom often, especially if the pumps have got a bit hot, they've cut out for a bit. You want to make sure there's no crystallization really, otherwise you've got to do a lot of stirring. So even after 4 to 5 bags, I will stir up the mix, check what's on the bottom, stick a stick down, pull the stick up. What runs off on my hand? Can I see crystals? Is it gritty? If so, probably need to stir a bit more. You can feel the sugar. Chop through it as much as possible. It will get a bit better when we sort out an attachment for the new pump, because we need to direct the pressure down to create that churn on the bottom of the tank so there's no sediment. We've got another couple of bags in. We'll probably put another 2-3 bags in. You don't want to put everything in at once in this system. Make sure those pumps are running again before you put any more sugar in. Then you're probably getting up to the point you can put your last bag in. And again, same thing. Make sure there's no crystallization. Stir it up nice. And then check for grit or crystals. And once you're done, you've got a nice, smooth, golden colour. Stick your Hivealive in. So what we've been using this season, Hivealive, here's a 10-litre drum that Hivealive sent to us. We also sell this here at Gwyn & Griffith, but just not in this size yet. But this has got lemongrass, thymol in it, and seaweed extracts, and it helps stop sugar fermenting as well. So you're supposed to be putting about 2.5 mils to every litre of syrup. We're probably going to be putting about 500 mils in this time. And that is what we do. And then once it's done, straight into buckets.
That pump throws some serious pressure. If that was directed down, it'll be problem fixed, I think. Andy's got 4 bags in so far, and this is how we keep track, because when you're mixing, if you throw the bags straight away, you don't remember how many bags. So we put all the empties in one place, so you're going, right, with 4 bags in. It's just, you got to watch that. Once you pour that in, a lot of it just sinks to the floor straight away and it gets stuck. As the syrup gets thicker, it's harder for the sugar to sink to the bottom. But you know, that's, I suppose the message from this is, you know, this isn't good enough yet, but we're just showing you our research and mistakes in this video, and hopefully we can improve it. But yeah, Andy's giving that a mix, and we'll probably stop for food and then come back and put the rest of the bags in.
So obviously we're doing this outside. It's quite warm today, relatively, probably about now 10 degrees or so. So as you might be able to see, there are wasps and bees around. We don't want this tank getting robbed out. We don't want to encourage robbing either. So we're gonna go off, have lunch before we come back and finish this mix off. So I'm gonna put some sacks over this hole, all the cables under there. So that will help. Another one to really confuse them, and the lid on as well. So that can now keep going while we're on lunch, and nothing else will be going inside, because that's what we don't want. We want a nice clean mix to give to the bees later on.
Now the big pump is cut out, as you can hear, but I don't know if you can hear that. The small one is still circulating. So we've put in 6 bags now, and there's 3 bags left. So that's going to mix over dinner. We're going to put that in and probably leave it 1.5 to 2 hours then to fully mix.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's pretty thick, and we'll see what it's like then. Right, bit of food. We just had food. Andy's up there stirring and checking. Looking pretty good, I say. That's ready for 3 more bags. Is that ready, Andy?
There we go, so you can see that. Can't see any crystal, well, minute crystals in there. That is really nice. Definitely ready for more bags now.
Andy the sugar syrup sommelier. That's the pump just cut off and she'll come back on now. So when you start seeing the sugar floating, you know you're at, you can't really get it any stronger than that. So we'll tip that back in now, close everything down and leave this for a good hour and a half. Right, it's been about an hour and a half now. A little bit of sediment on the bottom, but we can't get around that with this system at the minute until we get that turn the pressure to face downwards. Feeling alright there, Andy?
Yeah, it's feeling good. Yeah, like you said, a small amount of sediment, but not really that much at all.
Nice colour, really thick.
There's really fine crystals, but nothing that's going to be a problem. This is like the little dipstick test on your car with your oil. That's how I always think of this. But yeah, that's fine. You can't really see any crystals almost. Perfect.
And because we've taken the lid off now, you can see there's a little bit of splashes. So we'll get the lid back on top and start decanting it out. And that's it. That's how we fill it. So we'll get something like 20 something drums out of there now, Andy, won't we?
Something like that, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, there's roughly, well, where we are, we can probably work it out where we are with the level. We're roughly about there, so 220, 240, that kind of area. If we stick the stick down there now, we'll get a better reading. And what it is, so, right. Drop the dipstick in, all the way down, all the way up, and as much of the drips off. You hold it against the bottom there.
That is 260.
There we go, that's more like it, so that's 26 drums, something like that is. I thought the 20 was too high. There you go, pump, kicking it back on. And I'll show you the consistency, you know. If you hold it out a little bit. Give it a full ball. Lovely. And one thing we did notice, when we went from 1 to 1 to 1.5 to 1, the drums got heavier, and then once we went to 2 to 1, the drums were really heavy. So that's our little system. Now this system was very cheap to set up. It cost us a little bit extra because we bought another pump, but if you went and bought the best pump, that works out at roughly £180 with VAT delivered. The tank was 200 and something quid, so basically for 400 quid you've got yourself a syrup mixing system for, you know, I'm not saying very little money, but you wouldn't really mix it for less money with a purpose-built tank and everything. So, you know, everything here is standard. It's not made specifically for this job. We've just found a way, I suppose a cheap way of doing it. Now, the amount of sugar we mix, we should be using, you know, a big stainless steel tank with a heater and a paddle. That's what we'd like to get to, but at the minute, this is what we're using, and you know, it's not the perfect system. Once we turn that pump round to hit the pressure on the floor, it'll mix a lot better. We'll have a lot less crystallization, but I'll show you the crystallization now at the end of the video. But it is what it is, really. It is a big saving doing it like this. We've been buying a lot of cheap sugar this year, damaged bags, etc. So, you know, we've saved a lot of money with this system. Now, regarding the crack in the pump, I did speak today to the guy that I bought it from, and he has sent the photo of the crack to the manufacturer, so I don't know if they're going to send me a replacement part. But in the meantime, I spoke to Heaven, who is a welder fabricator down the road here, and he said he can weld it, no problem. So we can fix it. The pump's not right off. The motor and everything's perfect. It's just a little bit of casting on the front, which I suspect if I looked at that pump really carefully when it came, I would have seen it and we wouldn't be in this problem. You know, it's a good pump, but you know, good pumps, they get factory faults as well. So we'll see. If you want to find out if I got the replacement part, you'll have to probably comment on this video in a couple of weeks' time. And once I know what's happened, I'll pin a comment on the video so you can see if things was resolved or I had to get that sent off to weld it myself. Right, I'll show you how much crystallization I've got in the bottom of the tank, because this video is about showing the imperfect tank or the imperfect system of doing syrup. The next one in the spring, when we start feeding nukes 1-to-1, this will be a perfect tank by that video. We're just draining the last of the syrup out. So we just put a little brick on one end to tilt it forward. And you can feel the heat in here now, because these pumps, they heat up, and they say you want to have a cast iron pump so it loses the heat pretty quick, but you can see there we got a bit of crystallization, probably, I don't know, 4 kilos worth there on one side, and otherwise pretty clean. Now with a little bit of crystallization, like I've been saying in this video, I think once we direct the pressure downwards, you're not going to have that, so it'll be a perfect mixing tank for decent money. I'm not going to say for cheap, for decent money. Now the trick you've got to do now, when you totally empty that, don't leave it as it is. You've got to fill that up halfway, or the way we've been doing it is we put another 100 litres of water in, and then we turn the pumps on again. So you flush the pump out with clean water. Don't leave that sticky sugar inside the pump, because that will crystallise and seize up, and then the pump won't turn on. So you've got to do that every time. You've got to drain the tank out so it's nice and clean and free from any sugar. And if you're going to store it for the winter, then you want to do that probably a good few times. Drain the water, fill it back up, run it, drain it, etc. That's just a good way to look after the pump. And that's it. That's it for the video. That's how we mix sugar syrup here at the minute. So by the time we do the next video in spring, doing 1-to-1 mix, this system should be perfect. So goodbye from me. See you in the next video.
Goodbye from me. Take care, guys.